My friends, sales have dropped 30% week over week in Toronto. What are we in for? Hey, we're going to look at this today and much more on the Toronto Real Estate Report, the McGowan Report, which we like to do on a weekly basis. Let's roll the intro. That's right, my friends. Sales have dropped. The number of sales has dropped by 30% week over week here in October, which is a little bit surprising. Perhaps it's setting ourselves up for the interest rate announcement, which is going to happen next week. I'm filming this on Friday, October 21st, and there's a lot going on. But first, I want to say thanks everybody for reaching out to me over the last week. We've had a number of people reach out to me. I go watch the video on a triplex that we did a walkthrough video, and we showed everybody on how we would improve it and add value to it and also add income to it. That's a great video that I did with my good friend Dylan. Secondly, there we go. Secondly, a lot of you have reached out and said, hey, Gary, I want to book some time to talk about analyzing our investment portfolio and walking us through buying investments and looking out for investments over the next, 6 months from now. And that's amazing. I love that mindset. Let's look for opportunity in a shifting market. That's exactly what we're here to do today. So, yes, as I said, the market has dropped by 30% in number of sales. So let's see what that's going to do to some of the pricing, days on market, and things like that. It's quite significant. And we've got the numbers in front of us. We're going to read through them together like we do every week. So let's do that. Let's share the screen here and we'll get all the stats up. Here we go. That's right. So this is the McGowan Report for October 15th. And we do this weekly as well as a month in review as well. So here we are. We're going to be looking at this for the Toronto area, and you can see the total listings here. Red is this year, gray is last. Excuse me, I said that backwards. Red is last year and gray is this year. And you can see the number of listings are down. And we're going to see a lot of, as we move into the fourth quarter here, that's last year. If you remember, that was one of the hottest quarters that we've ever had on the Toronto Real Estate Board. So we're going to see a lot of these numbers kind of flip-flop back and forth here. The average list price is up ever so slightly since last year, but you're going to see that the number of sales is down compared to last year. And of course, our sales price, the average price here is down compared to last year. So let's look at this in detail as we like to do. The total listings is down. And here's where the listings are, but they're down compared to last year. But where are we over the last several weeks and months? Well, we're kind of hovering at about 1,100. 11,152 a couple of weeks ago, and now we're at 1121 and now at 1124 you can see here. So that inventory is hovering at about the same. And you can see everyone loves listing on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But what did we have last weekend? Well, we had Thanksgiving. So could Thanksgiving be a factor into the number of sales that came down? That might be a hint, perhaps. Anyways, let's scroll for average list price. Well, you can see here we're hovering at about 1.33, which is slightly higher than the week before. But of course, the market will tell us if that's accurate or not when we look at the average sale price, right? Of course. Scrolling through here, total inventory cost. Well, that's just the number of listings times really by the number of homes that are listed. So you can see what that looks like. We had a high in September, and now we're kind of down to 1.4 billion. But really, that's more the big picture look. Let's look at something a little bit more localized. In fact, total sales. So I talked about this. The total sales. Look at that big plummet there. But as I said, is that have to do with Thanksgiving? Probably has a lot to do with Thanksgiving, yet also has a lot to do with the pending interest rate hike that we're looking at. I don't know. However, whenever we do have long weekends or holidays put in there, and Thanksgiving's kind of a big one, right? That'll have an effect on our market, especially as people, now we're able to get away and fly away and go to the airport without our face masks and things like that. So people feel more comfortable vacationing and taking time away. So I think that has some factor into where our market is. 351 is the lowest number we've had. I think it's the lowest number we've had this year. This dates back to the beginning or the middle of June. But if memory serves me correctly, that's going to be the lowest number we've had this year, which is interesting. So what does that look like for this week's stats when they come out, or the next? Yeah, this week's that we're currently on right now. It'll be interesting as we look at that next week, right? And of course, you can see the number of sales were down into the weekend, right? And they typically are, but they're significantly down into the weekend, and definitely Monday, as Monday was a holiday, right? Good stuff. Okay, average price. Now, this is something that we watch closely. We watch the number of sales and average price. This is something that we need to watch. And you can look, it's only ever so slightly down from the previous weeks. We're talking, a $10,000, $20,000 at most there. And that's the interesting aspect. So the market's kind of holding. As it dropped a little bit? Yeah, it has. But if you look into the August months, it certainly has come up since then, right? And I can tell you that there are homes, when they are priced accurately, they're selling quickly. In fact, very quickly. And I can tell you about a story here in Stouffville, where I live. In fact, we had a home list not too far from where I live, about 25 to 30% below fair market value. So you can see the strategy of what the listing agent and the sellers had decided upon. And wouldn't you know it, they had 17 offers come in on that property. And of course, it did sell for approximately, I think it was 29 point change. So we'll call it 30% over ask, which, when you do the math and you kind of look at it, the comparables, that was fair market value. What does that tell us? That tells us that if there were 17 offers on that property, 16 people didn't get to buy a home that night, which means there's still a number of buyers out there. And when you do price it accordingly, and when you do have a good home, this was not something, this was just a home below the average sale price here in Stouffville, actually. And it did need a little updating, but it was in a good area, and people still respond to location and pricing. Imagine that, right? There's some things that don't change in the real estate market. So flipping back to the slides here, that's a big thing here, obviously, is the average sale prices. And this is for Toronto, and the average list to sell ratio. So what does that do? Well, when you list your home at $1 million, you should be selling it. And last week it bumped up a little bit at 99.8%, which tells us you're going to get, asking price, right? Scrolling down, average days on market is something that we've been watching quite significantly here. And you can see, starting back in September, I actually thought this number was going to increase to about 29 to 30 days. And you can see here, we're sitting at 23 days. So I was off on this slightly, but I still believe, especially with next week's rate announcement, that we're going to see this increase right here for sure. That we're going to see some additional days over that. And of course, we're looking at this on a weekly basis. When you look at it on a monthly basis, those numbers tend to move a little bit more. Last time we were at, call it 30 days on market, was right in the middle of summer. That was, of course, over the August 1st long weekend, so we could see that. But I think we're going to see that number increase as we roll into the fourth quarter here. Total sales volume, well, of course, that's the number of homes. That's the value of the homes, all the value of the homes put together, and the number of sales. Of course, that number is going to be down if our sales were down. Common sense, that's math. That's just math 101. I can follow that. So there you have it. That is the real estate update, the real estate market update for Toronto. And I should mention that these reports are always available for download in the links, and you can go view some of the previous reports as well. Do check out that triplex walkthrough, because it might not be a triplex that's for you, but here's what Dylan and I did, and something that I used my experience on. I walked through that home. It's completely vacant, I should tell you. And I suggested on different renovations and ways to add income to it and add value to it. And it was a really fun video to put together, because there's a lot of opportunities. And when you look at things slightly different, or with a different set of lenses on, you can see some opportunity there. I also just posted my most recent podcast. Check that out. It's all about what we did as a listing agent when we sold a house and it was ready to close and the bank said no pretty much a week, 2 weeks before closing. And we had to do some things in order for them to close. So when a bank says no to financing just before closing, what do? Go watch that video.